updates for this month, and then I want to have a discussion with a lot of you. So fundamentally, this month we're kind of slowing things down, and we're just looking overall at the platform and a lot of the things that have been happening, and we're just trying to digest all of the updates we've had in the last 6 to 7 months. But we have been working in parallel on testing out some new things that you've been asking for to get your feedback on them. So I want to quickly show you these, and then we'll move into the discussion. The first is AEC Data Model. So for those of you who use Autodesk Construction Cloud, I know a few of you have started testing this, but we know Revit has a lot of key data that you want, and you want to be able to access via API in the same way that we enabled you to retrieve documents. So AEC Data Model is one we've been testing. I think a few of you on the call here have been testing that. The second is Revizto. They've just publicly launched it now, and they've announced it. But for those of you who use Revizto, we can now also tap into model level data there. P6 is another big one. Many have wanted us to integrate with P6 over the years. We were reluctant on P6 for a while because not many used cloud. But what I'm seeing more and more is more of you are using P6 EPPM, which is the cloud-based version of P6. We now can integrate with that and control data from there. And if you want to get access to that, just let us know, and we can test that with you on your projects. And then the last is kind of calling it Relationship Explorer, or I just came up with that name. But it basically helps you, like many of you have always wanted to understand the relationships of what's in your hub and the resources and the tables and the columns and so on and so forth. So we've built that. What do those look like in practice? If I take I'm gonna have my internet problem now, but we'll quickly go with it. So AEC Data Model, we can retrieve the elements basically, and one of the things that some of you have pointed out is also you want to know like the sheets, especially the design firms within you, like want to understand the sheets that are within the Revit models. We can tap into that data now, and if you want to test it, if you're not testing it already and it's something that you want to test, just reach out and we'll set it up for you to test it. We're not baking these things on the platform by design. Like we want to learn first before we bake them into the platform. The second is Revizto, and Revizto is very similar. So we would be able to put in all of the model related data there. P6 is the third. So with P6, again, you can tap into, we've heard feedback on activities, resources, work breakdown structures, projects, and we can get that into the platform. And then the last bit that I wanted to highlight is Relationship Explorer. We're doing this outside of the platform for now, but it basically allows you to dynamically start understanding the different relationships that you have within your hubs, and to see which tables are connected to what is it that's connecting them with each other. You can then potentially start isolating these things and understand based on a specific table, like understanding what it is that you want to look at. We're thinking about doing things like grouping them by function or by team. And then you can see the columns that make something up and its relationships. So any of these things, if you want to test them, just let us know and we'll give you access to that, and you'll start understanding your relationships on these specific hubs. And this will guide us in terms of how to build it within the platform over time. So if it's something you're interested in, just give us a shout, give me a shout, or give one of your digital transformation leads a shout, and that will help you understand that. But the main thing for today is top of mind for us right now is usability and training. Like we think Morta doesn't get to where Morta wants to get, and you won't achieve what you want to achieve with Morta at scale if we don't get usability and training completely right. over the next few months. And we have a long list of things that we think need to be improved. We've been observing what you ask us a lot about, what new users ask us about. When we're doing calls, we know where people get lost when they're clicking on things and they're trying to find things out. So we've observed a lot of these things. We also know while our training material has gotten better, we still think there's a lot of work to be done there. So today I basically wanted to open up the floor and just have a discussion with all of you. This is the interactive bit where I would love to have you have your cameras on, and we can all discuss this with each other. But I just love your views on what are the things that you think take you way longer than you should, like things where you have to click on 5 things before you get to the thing that you really need to do. Where do your new users, many of you here are actually not um, you're like your power users and you're supporting many others. So you should have a good idea of where are others having challenges. We'd love to get a view on that. Who do you need to train and what do you need to train them on? And where do people go when they get stuck? And I just love to get your views on that, really. And I'm gonna do ideally you raise your hands and you contribute. But if you don't, you're also going to be getting picked on. And I'm going to do the alphabetical order and I'm going to be asking you one by one what you think about what I've just said. So I did see that Miro raised his hand, but he put it down. So I'm just going to go with Miro first. Thoughts on usability and training?
So we just taking it back. So I'm Morta product owner for Weights Construction. So I kind of look after a bit of the training, setup, etc. for the whole of the construction business. I've got Emma Reese on the call who's product owner for Weights Smart Space. So we're kind of this similar page. We've really struggled with training just because of the vast number of people that we've got within Weights that need uplifting. Our first initial kind of training sessions were around information coordinators, information managers, getting them up to speed. We're now in the process of getting, let's say, design managers, etc., given that training. We really do struggle with the kind of content and really focusing on what needs to be done by each discipline, and that there's a lot of crossover. I think where we would see benefit is maybe having a mortar, let's say like a mortar training hub where you would go in, you'd do a bit of training and you'd get a little badge at the end of it. And it is something I probably spent about half an hour one night after doing a training session, and developed a Mortar champion logo for everyone who attended the training session for them to put on the end of their signature, which worked well. And I thought, right, okay, you've got the training, you've got this badge at the end of your email signature. Now you kind of go and crack on. I think we need something along them lines, Mo, where I would say to a information manager joining Weights or a DM, etc., or whoever that role might be, log into this Mortar platform. You've got a bit of training to do, and they're kind of bespoke to kind of what we would expect an information manager or information coordinator or design manager or whoever that might be a consultant to kind of log in and say, right, I've done that. I'm competent in using Mortar. Here's my certificate. That will also aid ourselves when we are doing capability assessments as well for consultants. So if we've got a job on and you know it's quite data heavy, we want to be able to showcase that our consultants are digital savvy as well, and not just somebody, you know, producing a drawing and giving us something that's not up to standard for Weights. I think that's where I'm at, and some of the training, you know, not to take a downer, but I think some of the initial training that we did do with yourself was very tech heavy, and the feedback we did have was it was too heavy, so something maybe lightweight to start off with, and then it will go more into depth as they kind of go on that journey.
you know, please be like, the whole point of this is to be really honest about like challenges that people are facing, because we want to help you solve the challenges. So like we want to know every single thing we've done wrong along the way, because that will help us shape effectively how to do it right. So I just want to quickly dig in, like when you said the training was too heavy, like in what was it we were too focusing on how to build on Morta, and the audience was more, how do I, like they didn't need to understand a lookup when we were focusing on all of these things? Or yeah,
Yeah,
just
I
walk me through
think
that.
I think if you're rolling out a new piece of kit to someone that, let's say, Waits is on that journey in regards to IDPs and digitalizing that sort of jazz. What they almost want to focus on is a very basic, what is Morta, right? Day one done. And then day two is right, this is your MIDP or your IDPs. Let's just take them as a basis. That's how upload, or that's how you would track a drawing from a CDE to Morta, and that's what it pumps out. And then you kind of get into more of the VLOOKUPs and the more data savvy stuff. A lot of the information coordinators are not data savvy. They kind of, I want to say the words old school, kind of, let's say, doc controllers that we've now aligned to ISO 19650 with all the information standards and whatnot. But it's taking people on a journey rather than just saying, right, that's more. There you go. You could do all this fancy stuff. You could do VLOOKUPs. You could do graphs. You could do this. It's more of a taking them on a journey almost, and that's we've started to implement some training which takes people on a journey. But I think if you were to go and set up this kind of let's say academy, it would be almost a journey, and bringing them on board. I think that would be good. Emma's got a hand up, but she'll probably jump in and say the same.
No, it was, yeah, I understand. Obviously, we're focusing on the use case that we're driving forward. But it'd be good to just get, with regards to the audience and the level of how they use Morta. So yeah, a very high level, this is a hub kind of, I guess, very high level stuff. And I'm sure you do have the training videos and resources available, but I guess it would be good to have that kind of certification in a way, so that we can know that those people have done that training and they've got that badge for the different levels. And as Miri said, not everyone's going to need the real technical how to build, but we do need people to understand how to navigate the platform, and the limited kind of uses that they will need. So it'd be good to have those different levels rather than
Just to check
just a
one
set of,
thing
yeah.
there, is it, so there's the platform, but take like one of the things people sometimes struggle with is an information delivery plan needs to link with the CDE. So do you see it as platform specific? So are some concepts part of this as well?
So I think that there are, I mean, I'm thinking about it from your perspective. Every client of yours, I'm sure, does things slightly differently. So you're not going to be able to give us
A bespoke training platform.
detailed bespoke training for every individual business, whatever. But it would be useful to have some standardized training, Morta training that people can then show that they've done. They at least know how to navigate the system and what the different elements mean. Whether they're just when they are just literally going in and inputting in stuff rather than building.
A lot of our clients are now using Morta as well. We're quite heavy with the MOJ and DFE, etc. But yeah, for us as well, if we're putting in a tender or a bid, and our consultants are saying, yeah, we've got the Morta badge, we know about Morta, it kind of, I think that would levy us up as well in that aspect. But yes, it's stuff like having, you know, that little image someone can put on the bottom of an email address, or you know, people start putting BSI accreditations or whatnot. I think moving forward that'll be fantastic. And I'll sell you that Morta Champion logo if you want, Mo.
Thanks.
I won't
I
charge you much.
may design a better one though, and I could technically go. I have what's it called? What's the word that I'm looking for? We just paid a lot of money for lawyers to put for us to protect our brand stuff, and I just lost that. So careful. No, but like no, that I just wanted to put it up because that was actually like jokes aside, like that was really really cool. Like when Miro sent it to me, it was really cool to just see the fact that you had done it, but also it's a signal to me of something we need to get right, and that to me was what that showed, because we need to have a formal way and an opinion on what is it that makes someone a champion, what are the levels of these, so on and so forth. A lot of what we've been doing in terms of the people who have been invited to this, like generally speaking, we have across the platform, we currently have around 1,100 paid, like those paid like users who have configuration rights. Of those, we invited around 120 people into this session. And those are 120 people that we think, based on what we've seen, are actually like the people who are most advanced in using Morta. So in some ways, this all needs to be formalized, and then it's also getting much more complicated now that we're going beyond information management, because there will need to be different flavors of this for different types of people. But really appreciate the input, and you going first. Sarah, I think you've had your hand up.
Yes, I was actually quite curious about that because Ali knows that we have the concept of digital champions in our team. We even have, so you have the small logo at the end of the email. We even had a GIF of proper champions with superhero kind of design with the cape and stuff like that. For some people in our project, and we've been having a lot of fun with these ideas, but I'm quite curious on what would be in your training, because like Emma pointed out, what we do between clients in Malta can be completely different from one to the other. But even if I think of our hub between use cases, I know that I never present Malta the same way to two different teams, because we have the MIDP that
Can
is
you
the
walk me through
one.
that?
Yeah, so typically we have the MIDP, we have the information delivery plan that is linked to our CDs that we present to everyone. But in terms of use cases, and you probably are tired of seeing the hub that we created in the homepage, but in terms of use cases, we have so many that we have already defined. So if I look at these, all of these are for
They made
completely.
their own homepage. I'm always
I know we've been talking about the homepage for way too long, but typically we have these use cases, and whenever I'm talking about to the consent team, it has nothing to do with the way I present in the procurement management page or the land access, because this one has, all of these are private. I'm not going to show them now, but we have GIS inclusions in this one. This one is linked to doors. This one connects information from SAP, and what they do inside of it, the views, the forms, the diagrams are completely different from one to the other.
so you've connected to doors and to SAP.
We grabbed information, so it's the other way around for both of them. We grab information from SAP and show them for the procurement people to see them, and we export our commitment from Malta to inject them into doors.
No, I'll never get tired of seeing this.
No, but the thing is huge. Yeah.
What you're in your case, what you're saying again, like the thing is, just to also contextualize, one
Yeah.
of the things we're seeing with like also for everyone.
Mhm.
So some people on the call are looking at rollouts across the company, like
Yes.
across the company. Some
Mhm.
people like yourself are on a very, very big job, and you've gone for using Morta across all of the key functions in that job. And
Yeah.
that in itself then has like there is one challenge, which is how do I get all of my information managers to understand use cases related to information management, and I'm scaling that across a
Yes.
tier one. There's a
Yeah.
whole other challenge, which is I'm on one project. How do I get everyone in the different users of Morta to understand how they should interact with Morta? And we're seeing per persona, I have different things I need to show them. So if I'm showing
Yes.
a procurement manager, I need to show them certain things. If I'm showing an information manager, I need to show them certain things, so on and so forth.
Yeah, and now I honestly, because we we got down the rabbit hole and I'm using it way too much, I kind of probably lost touch with how the first user interact with Malta. So I would be very, very keen on seeing what would be in the basics training of welcome, this is Malta, this is how you work in it. No matter
Yeah.
what we put in.
Yeah, one of the things that always confuses people is a lot of the onboardings of Morta I've done for the last 2 to 3 years. And the reason I kept on doing that is I think it's the easiest way for me to stay in touch with someone who's starting out with a platform. And mainly because I think that's an ongoing journey. Like even our biggest customers and like ones on scale up and whatnot, like they'll always have new people to onboard or new use cases to onboard, or like onboarding doesn't, it feels like onboarding is an ongoing, every use case is an onboarding. So it's like onboarding is a very, very, it's not unlike other systems. It's not one of those things that you onboard once and you're done. There is a continuous thing, and the easiest way that I could control, like I mean, it's much easier for me to do it for someone who's new than for for the ongoing ones, because a lot of you will also want to do your own onboardings. Thanks. That's a different angle at all of this, which is why this is all so complicated for us. Andy, I think you wanted to say something.
Hi, Mo. Hello, guys. Yeah, I mean, it's all everything said is absolutely right. I think just going back to your question about, how should we position training? What do you need? Like we've kind of unraveled. There's so many different use cases when you start to scale across different departments and functions. I don't think you can cater to everything, but in my mind, is it simple? Is it simply providing, like, if you're a viewer, there's a training for viewing, being able to group and filter views, understand what you're doing, contribution to tables, like basically following the 3 core permission types, and then owner/builder. Because the complexity is when, like, so the way we set up, we've got a Mortar hub for each project, which I think you guys have. Typically the departments or disciplines we're targeting there are trackers across our course information management. That's where we started, but we've got procurement, like Sarah mentioned, design management and project management, and different trackers in there. Now, in a project hub, I'd be really concerned. So me and my team will basically be administrators of that hub and build things for people. As much as I'd love to give, like, other departments builder access and say, go and knock yourself out, the complexity of all the relationships in the hub, that could be a bit of a risk. Someone joins something to something they shouldn't do, and it could get really messy. But what I'd like to do is empower departments on there. Maybe they could have corporate department hubs and start to build things for them that could end up going into the project hubs as templates and stuff. So yeah, it does get quite complex when you try and scale it and give people the keys that when they don't necessarily know the full the full system and how it all works, comes together. That's my view anyway.
Spoken like a true Mortar builder. The like the actually there is a simplification in what you just said that I funnily hadn't necessarily thought of. Like actually, because there is the use case dimension, which is actually how a lot of it I've been thinking about it, and then I've been thinking about it as in a way the free user versus the paid user. But I think it actually works better to think about it on like hub level permissions, well, org level permissions, hub level permissions, resource level permissions in Morta's like language, and then mapping that back to a use case. And I think there's a combination of these things that I actually hadn't really thought of, which I'm kind of ashamed by right now. But tying it directly to Morta level permissions in terms of how that gets structured. So awesome. So thanks for sharing that. On I actually wanted to comment on something Emma said, and you've all touched on in a way. If I have my way, there will be a way with which we dynamically do this for you within product. That is kind of the idea of where we're going with Morta AI. Like the route number one is where, and I don't know when we'll be able to crack it, but we will over time crack it. I ideally want it to be customized. The dream, and may fail at delivering the dream, but like the dream is there's a general basic, there's the general purpose Morta trainings, which we'll have in the academy, and Morta's way of doing things. But over time, in an ideal world, the training should follow your way of working. So I'm joining your hub. Therefore, I'm being onboarded onto your hub as if it's you as the power use guiding them through it. So rather than take Andy or Miru having to go, how do I guide someone learning about the ALEC or weights construction way of doing things? There is your equivalent in product guiding them on that level. Rather than Emma having to guide on Smart Space's way of doing things, there is the equivalent of that in Morta AI that's taken the training in your way of doing things. Rather than Sarah, you having to do the presentation for the procurement manager or the likes thereof on the project level. In that instance, there is Sarah has defined a repeatable training that can happen in product. And it's almost like, welcome, I'm Sarah. I'll take you through this hub that I've actually built for you. And then they can do that. And the concept of product tours with Morta AI is the first reactive example of that. And now we're trying to do it in what's common, but we think that we'll be able to do it we'll be able to give you the ability over time to design your own tours in product so that when someone is asking a question, they're getting a response based on what you think rather than on what Morta thinks. That will then mean there will be a level of precedence. So ideally you have a procurement tracker and you've templated that. It should follow your way of doing it. But let's say you give it to someone, let's take something that I'm not hearing of a lot. I'm gonna say risk, but I know Andy is doing risk. Risk registers. No one has figured that out. Or inspection, test plans, and commissioning. Morta already has templates for that. We already have tours for that. That is then what gets used. None of us have anything that then goes to the absolute basics of how do I build a table, and it just tries to walk them through with that. But one of the things we're thinking of introducing into the platform relatively soon is we're going to start asking users to define their roles in onboarding. We're going to ask organizations to define who they are and sectors that they're in. because all of these things will help us in terms of making these onboardings or continuous onboardings. And Morta AI will then have a like contextual understanding of I'm dealing with a design manager, therefore these answers should be tailored for a design manager. And they're most likely to ask me X number of questions in relation to design management. Or I'm in the information delivery planning page and it says information delivery planning, these are the likely questions for someone to ask, and it then goes on through it. So there is a lot of what, and I know you said that it was impossible, but I actually think it's possible. But it's just that we don't know when we'll crack it. But I think that is the direction we'd like to go down. Now we also need to think about where we can go down plus what we can do today. And we're trying to mix both at the same time. Aram, I know you've had your hand up, so would love to hear your thoughts.
Thank you, Mo. So I'm not sure if what I'm going to say now has been discussed previously, but we have something called table relationship prepared by Andy, and this is on our everybody's table, you know, from our team. So table relationship. Definitely after this has been prepared, it got changed a lot, and almost in each project there are some changes. But if it will be possible, you know, in Power BI, when you create something, then you go to the table view, it will show all the connections, relationship between different things, right? So if it will be possible to do something like that, some view where you can see all the connections between the tables and the type of the connection.
Aram, I think you may have joined just after Mo showed that at the start, so Mo's going to show you, I think. But I think this is exactly what you're asking for, which I was pleased
because
with.
it will be extremely helpful.
There we go.
My God.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
So that the idea behind this is we can actually start visualizing a lot of this data, and then this becomes dynamic. So now we're going to do it as an output, like outputs from your hubs. But the direction we're going to take is over time, that should be directly linked to your hubs. And then you can understand these things. But then also, like, you shouldn't have a person. This is the one we have here is we're building a demonstrator for what an end-to-end project looks like. Sorry, I just blanked. This is crazy for most people. That's what I was trying to say. Like, people look at this and they'll go, "Oh my God, like that's way too many things." So going back to a lot of what we're also been saying, I think ideally what should happen is it should follow the persona. So the person is seeing the person who's an information manager only needs to see the relationships related to information management. They don't need to understand what the procurement manager like the relationships the procurement manager needs to understand, or so on and so forth. So I think that first you can test this, and we'll give you access to this because you're right, like it does go out of date and all of that. But the second thing is, I think this is going to evolve over time because it will mean that you will need to understand the relationships that are relevant to you, and the center of this changes depending on who you are. And then from there, you unpack the wider model, and that's something else that is on our mind. Is
You
this
are
what
right,
you're
maybe,
like? Is this the?
Yes, something like that. So something like this to see like on one view all the connections, and try to understand if there is some duplication of the columns unnecessary, try to optimize the system. I mean, as you mentioned, procurement, yes, maybe there are some columns and definitely will be information in those columns which we are not interested in to understand what exactly is that. But at the same time, since everything is on the same project, will be we want to avoid duplication of columns, duplication of tables, because it will load the system, and we were already facing, you know, about that some heavy tables were not able to run smoothly, just because of the same reason. So we want to see the system, so we will be able to optimize it.
Awesome. Thanks for that. Great. Anyone else has anything before I pick on some of you?
Yes, can I have another one?
Yeah, sure, go for it.
We were presented the option of being able in the comments, to start tagging people.
Yeah.
And I think that is one of the things that is missing the most in Morta today, because we have so many things happening inside of it throughout our disciplines, the number of time when people through Teams have to screenshot the table or give out a reference saying, have you seen that? Can you react to that? Having a way of notifying people for them to go back in an exact point in a table or a view is something that would be a game changer in our end.
Yeah. Wow, you got people going. Miro, go first since you I'm guessing you want to say something on that, right? I'm just checking, like, is it on the same thread? Yeah.
Yeah, completely agree with the notification. So we're currently using Morta for O&Ms, and one of the kind of niggly bits around that is how we get notification. So if let's say IM's approved an O&M, all the names correct, it then goes to a package manager that will do a technical review of that O&M, etc. It will go through a workflow, but there's no notification kind of to say, right, it's open to go to the next step, etc., or that O&M is now complete and it's ready to go to the client, for example. So yeah, notification for us is a big one.
Mine was
Awesome.
exactly the
Emma,
same
I think
point.
you wanted to say something there.
It was the same point. So from an O&M perspective, we just need to notify people when they need to go in and do something. So
we had a big digital day yesterday, and O&Ms and whatnot was discussed probably more than anything else, wasn't it, Emma?
Amazing. So short answers, we're thinking about notifications. We're already starting to implement things that aren't necessarily baked into the platform, but again, it's for us to test and learn before we bake these things into the platform. Beyond notifications themselves, like but it's kind of same principle. One of the things we're trying to do is we noticed like implementations sometimes aren't succeeding at scale. Well, they're succeeding at various levels for companies. So what will happen is someone will adopt, someone won't, and that causes challenges. What we found is visibility and reporting is the way that gets, it's the soft way with which that gets changed. So something as simple as if someone is opening up a dashboard and they generally see that everything is empty and no one has filled in the information delivery plans, that shows that someone isn't doing what they ought to be doing, but we haven't been making that visible. In that same principle, we're doing emails to go, should there be a daily email that gets sent out, for example, or a weekly email that gets sent out that shows what are the things that happened on the hub, how many deliverables were added in, who was active, who wasn't active, all of these types of things. So, and in that, I think there will also be this element of like what we're thinking about. And to be honest with you, I think all of our emails are horrible. Don't say that to anyone. But like it's horrendous. It's just we've not really thought it through. You're getting a lot of emails. It just feels like spam. You don't know what's important and what isn't. I basically ignore most of the emails I get from Morta. So that's a sign something is wrong. Where we are part of again the why we've not sometimes like there are these things that and you can see how bad I think it is, but I also didn't fully know how we can like go about it. This is the kind of thing we're testing now, so we'll get especially the ones now that have just voiced you're having that as an issue, will reach out to you and we'll talk to you specifically about notifications and things we're testing there. And then we can have a more deep, like we can shape what that looks like off the back of it. Even things like Teams, I don't want it to just be email notifications. I want it to be we send something in Teams. There's almost the equivalent of a Morta bot, and we directly notify someone who should know about things. So I hope that covers that. Is there anything, because I also want to take Jan's, but is there anything else there?
No, I think you covered it. I just wanted to jump in on as well the notion of dashboard and audit of what has been seen and what hasn't, and what has been used and when. But I don't know if Ian or Emma wanted to point out something else before we on that thread before we jump on the other one. What you were saying about having a way to see what has been done where, and the idea of a dashboard that reads the audit trail is something that we're very, very keen on seeing as well.
Awesome. And that's something where like it's exactly that like we're seeing visibility is the value, and that's what I'm increasingly selling. So that's the direction I want to take it. I hope we take it down. Yeah, I think you wanted to say something and went away.
It was around the notification dashboard. I think it was pretty much mentioned already. We look at the option with notifications, and I talked about it with Sally, I think last week. Initially, we wanted to have some notification and set up certain trigger actions, but then from what you pointed out, when people get too many notifications, they start ignoring that. And we have on some hubs set up the personalized dashboard, so every user would see dashboard specific to them with actions what they have to complete. So if you can do something like a bit more automated in a way that when user have assigned actions, when they close it, and the hub admin can see it on one master dashboard, that would be probably the most beneficial for us with what we do.
Awesome. Yeah, I think what will happen on a high level, I think generally where we're going to go with notifications as well is it will be somewhat configurable, at least. I am debating us having an opinion on notifications because I think notifications can really backfire if it goes wrong. But fundamentally, I think near real-time communication should happen in something like Teams over time. So someone just tagged you in something and you need to go in and comment. They almost get a message like that person would have been messaging them. And in the ideal world, almost on behalf of that person, that I've just done this that now needs your action. But I think where we're going to go is we're going to have daily, the emails will be more like a daily summary of the things that have happened that are relevant to you. And that will somehow need to follow the permissions. Again, all roads back to depending on who you are and the similar to what we were just discussing with training, like how do you let someone know about something? But yeah, point taken. Emma, I think you want to add something there.
On the notifications front, I guess being able to choose what and the frequency. So you might get a weekly report on who's been added. I don't know, that kind of stuff. Or yeah, having the selection process. But I do have another point to discuss, if that's okay. If everyone's finished with notifications.
Yeah, go for it.
It's around secure projects, and our challenge is around who can have access to them, and the kind of hard-coded people that you can't get rid of on some hubs, which is making it a bit of a challenge. I know some of the information is not, it doesn't fall into the secure, it's more our process, but we're using it more to pull through RFIs, for instance. So the Morta hub is being the place to be used rather than going into the CDE. So we're putting that information through. So in effect, those hubs, we're at the moment having to remove anything to do that that would be classed as a security risk. But is there a way to remove you guys? And then how would that support, you know?
Is that organizational level, Emma, where we've got the kind of few guys that are on every single
So that
we're thinking of having, because we're getting that feedback, almost a site in like Morta, which then the org admin activates that everyone, like it's almost like a black hole within within everything, where no one can actually just access that, and it's just the people who are in that. So that's our approach, but we'll get in touch regarding that. And there should be like I think, Ali, did we already did we already solve this, or is it something we're still planning on solving? Because I know Kier was having the same we were having the same discussion with Kier. Removing people sites, so having, if it's a secure project, the org admin not being able to see the hub.
Not yet, not yet.
No, not yet. Okay. But it's something where basically, like, I'm aware of, I just wasn't forgetting whether we actually did it or not. But it's something we'll definitely be coming to.
Be good to know a timeline for that, Mo, as we have lots of projects.
Cool. I'll may have another fix, but I'll I think
You
there
give me
is
a call.
room if we really need to do something. Like, I think there is room to just try and do something else, but we'll get back to you
Okay.
on that.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. We have 5 more minutes. I think there is a good number of you who haven't chipped in on usability and training. I just want to see if any of you feel like there is anything you want to add to what was discussed, or not. Because we heard a lot from the main contractors. We had Jan join in, like, from the multidisciplinary design firms. I think the owners haven't heard anything on usability, and yeah, I'm just curious what your thoughts are. If anyone wants to add in anything. If not, we can leave it here. I think that's yeah, Emma, if you wanna.
It would be interesting to understand from our client's perspective, if there's any on the call, whether that would be a useful thing to have if they know that our people and our supply chain have got that kind of Morta trained badge.
I think we did have someone from the MOJ. That's who
Yeah.
you're referring to, Emma?
It would be, yeah, it's just, I don't know. We're obviously trying to upskill our people, and if we can demonstrate it by getting a badge, it might be useful. I don't know. It was just thought. If no one wants to speak, then fine.
Yeah, I think just generally speaking, I'm generally hearing that it depends on. And it depends because different people are involved in different aspects, right? So
Oh no,
it
certainly.
completely depends. It completely depends on what is the short of it, is what I'm generally speaking hearing. But I'm hearing from the mix. Like, I'm hearing you as tier ones. I mean, more and more of you are taking people from different companies that have worked on Morta, so that's a sign that you care about it. I'm so I think the general answer would be a yes, but I'll be validating that just generally speaking as well. But as I said, I think it relates then to what the use is. If I'm going in and reading the standards, that's less important. If I'm going in and I'm going to be filling in certain things and I'm going to be doing things related to reporting and information management, I think it would be like over time it would be more useful. So yeah, amazing. I think we'll leave it here for today. Thanks a lot, everyone. Thanks for those of you who joined. Thanks for listening in. And thanks especially to people who contributed and gave us feedback, because feedback is useful and feedback does get prioritized. So thank you all for joining, and we will do this obviously again next month, and then we'll take it from there, and then we'll be seeing you all really soon. Well, have a really good one, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, bye.
Bye.
Thanks, all.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.